guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing the Boujee Booktuber Tag. And this was an original tag by Olive over at A Book Olive. I will leave a link to her original video down below. And this is a video basically talking about our spending habits, how we buy books, that sort of thing. So yeah, perfect. I love a good book haul, as do I know a lot of people. So we're going to dive in. There are 10 questions. Question number 1 is, what is your average monthly budget for books? I don't really have a budget as such, so I don't really think every month, right, sort of £50, that's how much I've got to spend on books. I don't tend to do that. I know I'm in a very privileged position to be able to say that I don't have to necessarily watch everything that everything that I spend to do with buying books. I tend to buy, lately I tend to buy a lot more books on my Kindle than I do physically, and sometimes the list of those is quite long. But it just depends on the month and what sort of mood I'm in. I don't like to go overboard, obviously, but yeah, it kind of depends. Question number 2 is, what's the most that you've ever spent in a bookstore? And I don't really know, to be honest. Probably around the £100 mark. That's when I suppose Steph and I have been in somewhere like Waterstones together and we've both bought books, and maybe we've had like gift cards that we've had to spend. No more than £100 though at a time, and even that is quite excessive really. So it's probably less than that, but we'll go with that as a sort of, I don't know, threshold figure. Question number 3 is, are you willing to pay full price for a brand new release, or will you wait for a sale or a coupon code? I am generally willing to pay full price. It depends on the book and how sort of like excited I am about it. I feel like we're really privileged in the UK in terms of the fact that if you want to buy a new hardcover, they are much less expensive than if you want to buy that same book in hardcover in the US or in Canada or in Australia. Whenever I hear people talk about how much hardcovers are in those countries, and having been to America a few times myself and seen that in reality, I'm always really shocked by how much more expensive they are. So in the UK, a brand new hardback can be anywhere between £13, sometimes less than that, and around £20 or £25. You can get them for cheaper depending on if you buy them from a supermarket, for example, or one of the more sort of like popular bookshops. But somewhere between about £13 and £20, I would say, on average, is what you're looking at for a brand new release, and I don't think that's too bad a figure. So I will pay that for a book that I'm really, really excited about, or I know that Stefan's really excited about. So for example, I bought him recently the hardcover edition of The Book of Dust. The RRP on this is £20. I definitely didn't pay £20 for it. I bought that out of my local supermarket, but stuff like this where I know he wants to read it straight away or I won't want to read it straight away, I don't mind paying full price for it. Question number 4 is, would you rather buy one new book or several less expensive used copies? And it really depends on what mood I'm in, and what sort of like I'm really excited about at the time. So I might be in a particular mood where I quite like mooching around a charity shop or a used bookstore, and therefore, it'll really, excite me to pick up 5 or 10 used copies for a tenner, let's say. Or, I might be in a different mood where I think actually I'm really excited about that, like I mentioned earlier, and I only want to buy that one particular book. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But yeah, I suppose I generally like to buy more books, but then I am coming around to the idea now of I'd much rather maybe buy those books that are my favourites to have on my shelf, and so therefore I want to spend a little bit less and not just pick up lots of random things. But it does depend on the mood I'm in. Question number 5 is, what do you think is a reasonable price for a new hardback book or a paperback or an ebook? So hardback wise, I think something like between £12 and £15 is a reasonable price. If I can get it for cheaper than that, then that's absolutely fantastic. But I think something like that is pretty reasonable. It's something that it's my sort of expected price range in terms of a hardback. Paperback wise, anything between £5 and £8 for a paperback, again, I think is a reasonable price. I'm quite used to paying that sort of thing. Ebooks, and I know I've watched a lot of people answer the questions on their videos, and this one in particular, I've watched a lot of people talk about, you know, how they don't particularly like the pricing on ebooks, and I would definitely agree with them. And in fact, until I watched some people's videos, I wasn't aware of the fact that you don't actually own the book if you buy it on your Kindle, which is, sorry if you heard that knock in the background, it's just something falling over. Which, yeah, was really surprising to me, but I suppose kind of makes sense. It means that you can't copy it and reproduce it, I suppose, like that kind of idea. But I am quite exasperated when I look up a book on Amazon, for example, that I can't get out of the library, and the Kindle version is something like £10 or sometimes even more than that. And I just think, for an ebook that you don't even own, that's a ridiculous amount of money. So yeah, I love me a Kindle deal. You know, I'm always looking on the Kindle daily deals and the monthly deals. So if I can get something for cheap, I will. And I feel even less guilty about that now because of the fact that, you know, I don't actually own it really. You know, if I really like that book and I want to support the author even more, then I'll buy a paperback copy of it or a hardback copy for my shelf. And I think that's the sort of mentality I've got about ebooks now. So yeah, to answer the question properly, I love paying 99p or $1.99. They're my two favourite prices. But you know, if I really want a book, I would probably pay anything up to £3 or £4 for it. But no more than that really, because if it's more than £4, I just think it's not reasonable. Question number 6, is a signed book worth more to you? How about a first edition? I do really like signed books. I've got quite a few of them. You know, if we've got favourite authors or favourite books or favourite series, then we will try to get signed editions of them, just because we're building up a collection. And, you know, I'm not necessarily going to build it up to then sell it one day, but I like to, you know, my favourite books I hold more value to me if they're signed by the author. First edition wise, again, a similar thing. If I've got a favourite book, then it's nice to have a first edition hardback of it. If I'm buying a hardback in general, I will look on the front inside pages to see whether it has a number 1 in there, because I just think, well, I'm buying the hardcover, I'm spending my more money on it than I would a paperback, so therefore I would like a first edition. Just makes sense to me, basically. Okay, question number 7 is, what is your most valuable book, sentimental or actual value? I had to think about this for a little while, but sentimental wise, I've gone with this edition of The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is the 3rd book in the His Dark Materials trilogy, and there is a passage in here that Stefan and I had read out at our wedding that is really, really important to us. They're lovely words. I'm sure you can Google, I won't read out the passage here, but you can Google, you know, the Amber Spyglass wedding reading, and it will come up really easily. But after our wedding, we hunted around for a really nice edition of the Amber Spyglass, and we got this one. This is a first edition of it, and it is signed by Philip Pullman. I'm just pulling this out. Here you go, he signed it. Here's a little bit of paper in there just to kind of confirm that. Yeah, and that sits on our shelf, and that has a lot of sentimental value to me. And then in terms of actual value, I have this, which you may have seen behind me before. This is a special collector's edition of the Tales of Beedle the Bard, and it's in this lovely case, and you open it up like this, and then inside is an envelope with some prints in it, and then a copy of the book if I just take it out. So the book comes in this lovely velvet case, and it has J.K. Rowling's signature on it, embroidered on it. And then if I open up the bag, the copy of the book looks like this. So you can open it up, and then it has these lovely end pages, and then the book is inside. It's such a beautiful edition of it, and my mum bought me this for my birthday, I think it was, or it might have been for Christmas. I mean, quite a number of years ago now. Obviously when the book first came out, there were these collector's editions that you could get, and she bought me one. And we discovered it in the loft a couple of years ago when we were putting together this room, and decided that we should really display it. And Stefan looked up how much money it was worth, and it's worth a little bit of money. So yeah, I'm really glad to have that. It's really precious to me. The fact that my mum bought it for me makes it even more precious. And yeah, it's like having one of those like great library books, so you could display it like that, and it would be like having, I don't know, like, you know what I mean. But yeah, it means a lot to me. Okay, question number 8 is, will you pay more for a cover or an edition that you like better? Yeah, you know, if I'm buying a book for the first time, probably not. Although, well, a cover that I like better, yes. So, you know, sometimes the US cover for a book is a bit better than the UK cover, or it can be vice versa as well. And like I said earlier, like if something's a favourite that I want in physical format, or if I want it in hardback as opposed to paperback, then I will pay a little bit more for it. So if I'm going to pay more for it, then I want the edition, you know, that I'm after. So yeah, I am happy to pay a little bit more. Question number 9 is, what physical characteristics does a good quality book have? I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I really, my favourites I like having in hardcover, so, you know, a nice hard spine. I really like books that have something on the naked hardback. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're well made. Yeah, a good quality book. But I do like that kind of idea of publishers, you know, doing something nice to the spine, or something nice to the actual naked hardback. You know, if there's some good thought that's gone into the design, you know, if they've thought about the end pages, maybe if the edges are sprayed, that's really nice. It's nice for hardbacks to have some sort of a ribbon bookmark. I don't always use those, but it's nice. Yeah, and I don't really know apart from that. And then question number 10 is, if you won the lottery, what bookish things would you do with the money? So I've talked to Stefan about this before, and in fact we've had a conversation about, if you won the lottery, what would be the first thing that you would do? And my answer has always been, order everything off of my Amazon wish list. Which, in the grand scheme of things, like, wouldn't you like go on holiday? And yeah, I would. I'd go on holiday and, you know, buy a new car and go shopping and things like that. And yeah, you would do all of that. But probably the very first thing that I would do is just order everything off of my Amazon wish list. Who wouldn't? And I would just love to go through and just click, order. I mean, it would just be the bookish dream. So I would love to do that. I heard somebody else, I think it was Mara from Books Like Woe, talk about the fact that she would love to go and visit some bookish places. So perhaps some settings for books that she really enjoyed, or, you know, places that are, you know, famously bookish. So for example, the Shakespeare and Company bookshop in Paris, you know, things like that. And I think that is a wonderful idea, and I would love to do that as well. I think I really admire people like Dolly Parton too. Dolly Parton, every year I think, she donates a load of books to children who are from disadvantaged backgrounds, so that, you know, they can have a book, and I absolutely love that idea. And, you know, if I won the lottery, that would be something that I'd love to do, you know, take part in some sort of a literacy cause, or you know, or just off of my own back, you know, send a load of disadvantaged kids books, or you know, donate a load of books to state school libraries or whatever it might be. I mean, that would just be a fabulous thing to do. Okay, and then there's a bonus question, which is give us an image, actual or mental, of your dream home library. And I might put a couple of pictures up on the screen here, but I mean, I have quite a nice reading room as it is. I love this room. I'm very privileged to have this room, to be able to afford it. So yeah, but if we had a bigger house, obviously we'd have a much bigger library. I'd really like a library where you have those ladders so that you can sort of climb up the shelves, you know, really tall shelves, that sort of thing would be fabulous. Even if at the very top you just had sort of like display things up there, because of course, you know, mind you, you'd probably have somebody who go up there and clean them for you if you had that much money. But anyway, yeah, sort of a library with a ladder, with sort of ladders incorporated. And I wouldn't want sort of like a square room. I'd want something a bit more maybe circular, or something a bit different in terms of the shape. And then I would love a big open roaring fire with some really comfy reading chairs. You know, so you could put your feet up and, you know, get all cozy and read, and maybe in the summer you could have it opening up to, you know, the garden deck, and so that you could read in the sunshine with all of the books behind you. And I'd want it to be a really light and airy room too. You know, a lot of sort of dream libraries are this sort of really brownish colour, and that's not really for me. You know, white bookcases, gleaming silver metal, that's the sort of thing that I would want. So that's it, guys. They are all of the questions. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. What would you do, bookish wise, if you won the lottery? I'd love to hear that from you. Yeah, I don't have anybody in particular that I'm going to tag. If you haven't done this video and you're watching it, then you're tagged. But yeah, if you liked this video, guys, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more bookish content. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.